Yo guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be discussing the Byzantium double religion strategy. How good actually is it? Is it worth the trouble of doing it? Did have the chance of playing a proper game with it that we did on stream, so definitely learned a lot from that. And yeah, this is what I think about it. So the game, this was done, Vox Populi. This was the 1.1 patch. Had unique components on it. I was using my difficulty mod. I also had the city-state changes that I tried on the version 9 of my difficulty mod. This was basically stuff like, wanted to test out giving them some more units so they wouldn't die so much, and also increasing the yields that they give and also the yields that they get from tribute later on in the game, particularly having it all scale with their population and stuff, just to make them a bit more relevant late game, because I feel like it's not that useful, like having allies and stuff later on in terms of the yields that they give normally. And yeah, normally they die anyway because they have so few units. So yeah, unique components as well. This was done on the melee map, but this was on a huge map. Don't normally play on huge, probably won't do it again. Definitely made the game a lot longer, and also made it incredibly difficult to get anything done in Congress, actually, just because anything that benefited you but not everyone else would get downvoted by a lot of other people. Yeah, standard speed, deity, obviously. So, yes, as I said, we are talking about Byzantium here. So Byzantium unique ability can always found a religion, receives one additional belief when founding, and may select beliefs present in other religions. So the way the one additional belief works is that when you found your religion, you'll get a belief at the bottom called bonus belief, and for that you can basically choose anything from an extra pantheon, founder, follower, or enhancer belief. You can't choose a bonus reformation belief, and you won't get 2 reformation beliefs if you pick 2 founder beliefs and build 2 buildings, just in case you are wondering that. But still, a lot of extra options you can choose from that bonus belief. Minus 15% faith purchase cost, and may purchase unlocked great people starting in the classical era. I don't think this minus 15% faith cost applies to the first great profit that you make, but I think it does apply to them after that, or because you can buy them from classical era as well if you have a religion. So yeah, basically all just religious synergy stuff there, all stuff about allowing you to get the exact religion that you want and have a bit of extra power with it from the decreased faith purchase costs, and then a little bit of great people synergy as well, being able to buy them earlier. Also, this being able to buy great people doesn't work with Glory of God as well, so that allows you to buy all great people, but you have to wait till industrial like normal for that to actually work. Okay, then we have the Cataphract, so unique knight. It's got quite a few extra things about it. So knights are normally 24 strength, these are 28, so quite a bit stronger. Only 3 movement though, compared to 4 that a knight normally has. Slightly reduced penalty to attacking cities. I'm not sure what the point of that is. It's normally 33, but it's 25 for these guys instead, so slightly better at attacking cities, I guess. 30% combat bonus in open terrain, so attack and defense. And open terrain now includes marshes and all that stuff. Cover 1, so 25% defense against ranged attacks. And one other thing which doesn't necessarily show up there, but it's that they actually do receive defensive bonuses, which horse units don't. So like standing on forests and hills and stuff, they actually will get defense from standing on them as well. So very, very tanky. Obviously it's a bit annoying to have 1 less movement, but definitely worth it for the amount of bonuses that you get on them. And then when you upgrade them to Lancers next, yeah, you'll get the normal doesn't receive defensive bonuses and the normal penalty to attacking cities, but you will keep the combat bonus in open terrain and the cover. So still you'll have like more tanky cavalry, and then you can also upgrade them into more tanky landships and tanks. Definitely a nice unit to have. Probably one of the best unique units in the game. Probably winged hussars are a little bit better just because they're so devastating on the attack, which is normally what you'd use mounted units for. Defense generally isn't what you would want them for, but yeah, definitely a good unit and relatively early at chivalry. Then we have the Tetraconch, so this is a unique temple, a bit of extra culture and extra faith per citizen, so 1 faith per 3 citizens. The double religious pressure I think is not on normal temples, but I think everything else is normal. So not really a particularly good building, I would say. Having a bit of extra yields is nice, but it's not like it's not a massive difference. Like a couple of extra faith maybe and 2 extra culture. I feel like most unique buildings do give a bit more. It's not like a super early one either. You have to wait till philosophy. And temples generally not something you would normally want to rush for building, in my opinion. But yeah, just not a great building, really. But obviously useful with the fact that you'll probably want to have more faith to do whatever religious stuff you want. Then unique component stuff, so Dromon. So in unique components, the normal Dromon is called a Pentecoster. So this is different from that. These guys, Greek fire. So they put a debuff on people, so they take 10 damage for 3 turns after. Not amazing, really, because you generally do want to finish stuff off. You don't want to let it, leave it alive to burn, because then it can attack you back in that time. But I suppose you could say they basically just do 10 damage more. You don't get yields when people die from Greek fire though, which is a little sad. Then splash damage as well, which you won't get much use of from these guys, I don't think. But what they do have is very nice stats. 9 combat strength and 18 range combat strength is a lot at this point in the game. You will need to have some triremes around to keep them safe, really. But I mean, they shouldn't get too badly destroyed by a trireme, and you can do a lot of damage back to them in the ranged combat. So just very strong at the time, but I don't feel like ranged boats scale that well throughout the game. I normally feel like melee boats are a lot better. So something you want to try and use in that moment, I think, rather than get a load of these guys and expect them to carry you through the game, which Cataphracts can do. And then finally Hippodrome, which is a unique Circus Maximus. This is quite a nice one actually. So you get a free arena, you don't have to have an arena in the city. Some bonus yields, 15% gold and culture during We Love the King Day. And a We Love the King Day begins in completion. And then whenever you enter a new era, you get We Love the King Day across the Empire. It's quite a few turns actually. I feel like it was 10 or 15 turns or something. So I did have We Love the King Day in all cities for most of the game. All arenas and circuses plus 3 gold and culture respectively, and plus 1 gold and culture on all sources of horses. So a significant amount of bonus yields. The percentage is definitely good too, and the We Love the King Days as well. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. Definitely nice. You just have to build it once in one city, and it will give you a lot of bonus stuff. So the actual double religion idea basically obviously revolves mostly around the unique ability. Now the way it works is that because you can always found a religion, what this means is that for you, if you don't currently own a religion, the game counts there as being 1 extra religion available for founding. So it basically means if you found a religion, you lose your holy city, so you technically don't own a religion anymore, and then you will still, assuming that you founded it before all the other religions were founded. So in this case, there's normally 7 religions. We founded ours, 6 other people founded theirs. we lose the holy city, and then for us, it says there's one more religion available for founding, which means we can found a second religion in another city. So yeah, you can only do one extra religion, and only really works as Byzantium. You will also get a bonus belief on this religion, and one other little thing which I'm not quite sure why it's the case or how it's the case, but for some reason as Byzantium, when you actually switch your primary religion, you don't lose all of the faith that you have stored up, which is what would happen if you did this as any other civ. So, as another civ, you could switch your primary religion by like conquering someone's holy city if you haven't founded your own. And usually you'll lose all of your stored faith when that happens. But for some reason, as Byzantium, you don't. So it's almost like somebody wanted this strategy to be played, but I don't think that was why. Definitely makes it a lot easier that is the case. So it obviously does have some downsides, this strategy. Number one being that you have to lose your original holy city. It's never a good thing to lose a city, especially one that you've probably been building up. And it can be quite tricky to manage and get the correct beliefs to work, because basically the way the primary religion thing works is that whichever religion you founded first, if you own that holy city, that will always be your primary religion. So if you try and lose your first holy city and then found a second religion, if you then recapture it, you'll go back to having your first religion as primary religion. And primary religion basically affects certain beliefs. They have to be a primary religion to work. Like all founder beliefs will only work if they're your primary religion, and quite a few of the Reformation beliefs as well, and one or two of the enhancer beliefs. And it makes it a little bit awkward because this would work a lot nicer if, say, you could found one religion, use all those beliefs, have it be like an early game religion, and then found a second like late game religion and switch over to that. But then if you reconquered your first holy city, then you would go back to the first one. So it's not as smooth as it could be if that wasn't the case. But there's still a lot of different strategies you can do. I'm not sure that mine worked too well. We'll come on to why, but there's definitely quite a few others, and I learned a lot by trying to do it as well. So a lot to talk about, really. So I did have an idea of what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go tradition, really. Unfortunately, the start that we had was quite weird, so started like in some jungle and forest here. Now, obviously went and explored up here and found Old Faithful up there, which gives 6 science per turn. Also felt like there was definitely better land over here and better possibilities for religions as well, like purity or desert, or maybe nature with the natural wonder and the mountain there as well. So I went on a bit of a journey with my settler. Ended up not settling until like turn 5, but settled right next to Old Faithful, and next to quite a few lakes as well. Found that there was just a massive amount of lakes in the area, so it seemed like best strategy was going to be to go for Goddess of Purity here and get lots of faith from the lakes. None of the other pantheons would really have worked. There wasn't enough resources on desert for Spirit of the Desert, or enough mountains really for Goddess of Nature, and not really enough production to go with Goddess of Beauty and tradition and stuff either. Like, this definitely didn't feel like a tradition start to me. Particularly settling over by the Old Faithful and the lakes. Like, I think the main thing that I look for in tradition starts is good production, actually, because tradition doesn't really give you much bonus production. So if you don't have good production yourself, it's very, very difficult. Also, when you have a lot of lakes, like, they're good tiles, but they're not great. but you want to work like a lot of good tiles with the bonus food. But with tradition, it's hard to work a lot of tiles because you want to work great person improvements, great person slots as well, specialist slots, that's the one. And also having a natural wonder we want to work as well. Yeah, it just didn't feel like it would really work, and settling late, so not really able to get any wonders. Definitely tradition didn't seem correct. I think that this start is best with progress. I really like purity with progress, actually. I feel like progress is the best at managing those starts where you have really high food, because you can actually get a bit more out of having high population, and you'll get a lot of bonus yields in the cities as well, and you can manage the happiness better as well, which can be a problem if you have a lot of high population cities. So yeah, I think progress is the best here. I wanted to go for authority instead, really because I felt like it had a lot more synergy with Byzantium in terms of having some pretty good unique units, and also probably more synergy with religion. There's not really a specific religion that works that well with progress, whereas there are some beliefs that are like directly tied to authority and conquering stuff. And having the ability to buy great generals in classical or earlier eras is pretty useful as well, compared to like great writers, which you wouldn't normally want to buy early anyway. I do think this was a mistake though. As I said, I think progress is better and with this start, and so I should have just done that. And even though I said there's not great synergy, there's definitely still good stuff you can do with progress. Yeah, just think it would have made the early game much better. Whereas we ended up quite far behind on quite a few yields, which I don't think we would have been so much with progress. And we still probably could have conquered stuff as well, with progress instead of authority. Also, on a huge map, there's way less camps than I'm used to, like per bit of land. So for whatever reason, on huge maps they're a lot more sparsely spread out, so it's harder to kill camps early and get your culture rolling on authority. I was kind of thinking that because there were so many other civs, there was so much more to conquer, that authority would be better, but I think it is worse, just because it's harder to kill camps. Having said that, we found a couple, and some ruins as well, so we were able to get to Imperium in a reasonable time, which is the important one that you want to get. I think I did send my first settler out before that, just because I really wanted to get the Purity Pantheon so that we could get our religion before they were all gone, so we could actually do the double religion thing. But then after that, we had Imperium by the time we settled our third and fourth cities. Did go for a shrine first so that I could get purity, and we were able to work Old Faithful relatively early, and that helped us with tech. So I was able to go up for like fishing, so that we could get across the sea and find more camps and ruins and stuff, and got trade as well so that we could build Petra, and libraries also in a reasonable time so that we could get our tech going. That way we definitely had quite a few cities with enough population that they could work a scientist slot very easily. I set up my cities in locations that I thought were pretty good, like behind lakes and stuff, making it very difficult for them to attack us, because we seem to have no neighbours on the west. They were all on the right hand side of us that I met, which did kind of work, but also we did end up being declared war on by Persia and the Aztecs, like pretty early into the game, classical era. So that means fighting against Jaguars and Immortals. And there were just loads of Immortals just like wandering around randomly. So even though my cities were like in good places to defend against an army, just like a random Immortal showing up next to your city who's just like impossible to kill. yeah, it doesn't really matter where you put your city, because even if there's only one tile they can attack from, it's still going to be enough to take your city if you don't have a garrison. So that was a bit annoying, and they just kind of showed up in random places. But did go up for sailing. Like I said, we had bonus science, so we're able to get quite a few techs early. And defended using the dromons, actually. Like, had some dromons going around the lakes, and they make really good garrisons as well, because they're high combat strength, making the cities, much higher combat strength as well, so they couldn't really attack us. And we got the alliance with Budapest, who was city-state to the north, and they were giving us Kopeshes, which are unique spearmen. I think it's Babylon spearmen or something, who had 15 combat strength as well, so they were reasonable. Still not fun to be at war with 2 unique unit people early. I think it was a co-op war that they did, and meant we had no one to trade with as well, because we didn't have any other neighbours, so I couldn't send like caravans out and get bonus science and culture that way, which normally you do need quite a lot on deity, because that'll be ahead. This meant, start wasn't particularly quick. Missed out on Angkor Wat by a couple of turns, which is a really great wonder with the tribute policy on authority, helping you get more border growths. But we still managed to get the profit in a good time, turn 84. Now, as I said, we were doing the double religion strategy, so didn't want to have it in the capital, because then we would have had to lose the capital. So sent them on a walk up to the renamed city of Jerusalem and founded Judaism there. So went for theocratic rule, founder belief. We Love the King Day boosts faith, culture and gold output of a city by 15%, so obviously synergy with the Hippodrome there. I did kind of have my full strategy mapped out in my head, and this was a city that I planned to end up being the only city that had this religion, and since it would be our primary religion, we would get this belief. And this belief is really good because it applies on all of your cities, whether they have your religion or not, as long as this religion which has this is your primary religion. So yeah, theocratic rule, founder belief. Went for orders for follower belief, so we could get bonus experience on units. I mean, we all know how good the flipping orders are for, well, bonus faith from killing units as well. I wanted obviously increased experience, morale promotion, so like 10% combat strength, and then also the defense, the 3 defense, super useful at this stage in the game for defending against immortals and stuff. 3 defense is a big difference. And then for the bonus belief went for pagodas as well, so another building that would give us some good yields, especially given that probably was going to be messing about with other religions later on in the game as well, so likely to have multiple religions with followers in each city. So did manage to get through the initial wars, like I said, more of an annoyance than putting us in a terrible shape, just slowed us down a bit. But then Persia and Aztecs actually broke up their kind of alliance and had a war with each other. So kind of looking at it, seemed like Persia was a bit stronger, so decided to declare war on Aztecs. I think we had a mission to take Tlatelolco anyway, but unfortunately Aztecs have another unique unit in late classical, which is the Eagle, so unique swordsman with some bonus stuff there, and doesn't require iron, so they were able to spam a lot of them out. Still pretty difficult to get through them, and they had forest as well. They get bonuses in forest. So still a difficult war. Really wanted to get to chivalry. I did go for a bit of a detour to metal casting first though, so I could get the hippodromes and get the We Love the King Day when we went into medieval era. Now, one thing I kind of thought of here that I should probably do more of in future is, if I have barracks, and particularly orders, I should actually build some catapults, instead of doing what I kind of normally do for these early wars, which is stock up on combos. The combos are better in that moment, because I think they do more damage against units, because they don't have like some penalty against units. And you can get better promotions, and they have better melee combat strength, so they're not as vulnerable, and you can use them in enemy territory. But if you're planning to conquer stuff, then what you really are going to need at some point is siege weapons with range. It's going to make a big difference to your ability to actually conquer cities. Like, sometimes that is kind of the point at which you actually start conquering stuff, is when you get range on the siege weapons. So instead of doing what I normally do, which is wait for armories for the bonus 20 experience, I think just getting them out early and starting to rack up the experience by attacking units with them could be a better way of doing it. Actually, particularly if you're defending against boats, because the siege inaccuracy that catapults have doesn't apply to boats. So if you're getting attacked by a navy and you want a garrison for your city, definitely make it a catapult and start getting experience on it early. Yeah, I did feel like if we were going to conquer anything early, it was going to be with the Dromons, which was why I rushed them out, but they were still a bit late really to actually do anything, and there wasn't a great way of doing it, because our capital was a little bit inland. There was a way to canal out to the sea, but even that sea, there was no actual civs over, like on the west. They were all on the east, really. So really needed Cataphracts to start conquering them, and probably a city in the middle. There was kind of a free area in the middle that could have put a city on, and like great generaled from. Build roads and stuff. Chop down the forest as well, so that we could actually catapult Tlatelolco. I mean, that's really early on, before you have like ranged siege weapons. Unless you have a unique unit, the only way you're gonna conquer people is by great generaling, like right up to their city and using roads and stuff. So maybe could have done that. I just thought the city would be a bit crap, and we'd end up in between Persia and Aztecs as well. And maybe we wouldn't even be able to conquer still, because they had a lot of eagles and stuff. So now we come to the Jerusalem Saga, which was a very frustrating part of the game. So, for the strategy, we needed to lose Jerusalem, so that we could found another religion. Now, my bright idea with this is, because we were allied to Budapest, I could let the Aztecs conquer it, and then let Budapest conquer it back off them, and then we could just let them keep it until we wanted it later on. So not only would we be strengthening our city-state ally, but getting rid of the city that we wanted to, and not strengthening the Aztecs. Now that was my plan, and it all went very well. We managed to lose the city. Budapest was reconquering it, and we could kill the units because Aztecs couldn't really take over the area. But then Budapest came in and liberated it back to me. So that ruined the entire plan there. Very annoying, because I really didn't want to just let Aztecs have the city and then take over that area and become stronger and make it even more hard for us to conquer them in the future. So what I had to do to lose it was break my alliance with Budapest and let them conquer it. So not only did we lose our nice alliance, but we had to fight a war against Budapest, and yeah. Took longer than I wanted and didn't work out the way I wanted either. So in future, I think definitely the better way of doing it is just from the start to kind of know that you're going to give it to a city-state. So put the city somewhere near a city-state, and then when you're ready to lose it, just give it to them. Some other stuff I probably did wrong here was I should have enhanced it, or I should have made more of an effort to reform it first, and should have probably enhanced it as well. Enhancing it would have allowed me to get the Inquisitor from it, so that I could then just hold on to the Inquisitor, and then when I reconquered the city, convert it back. Because by the time I got the city back, it was another religion, so I had to use a great profit on it later on to convert it back. And reforming it would have been good, because reforming is a little bit bugged in that once you've reformed one of your religions, you can reform any religion that is your primary religion from that point onwards. So if you reform your first religion, you can then reform your second religion, even if you haven't reached the pot requirement. So that would have been good as well. Unfortunately, the wars made it quite difficult, and we also had two neighbours who both had religions and no one else to really spread it to. So it would have been quite hard to actually get the reforming done. I'm not sure why I rushed it so much to get the city reconquered. Yeah, probably should have just been a bit more patient with that. But yeah, like I said, learnt for next time. But did get it done in the end, and in the new religion, which I founded in the capital, went for Eastern Orthodoxy, and so beliefs we chose were founder belief, hero worship, for the bonus faith, golden age points, and great general or admiral points when you conquer a city. Military unit production in that city as well. Yeah, obviously the plan was to start conquering stuff, build up a load of cataphracts, and get going with that. I guess that was kind of why I wanted to have the religion sorted, so that we could have this belief. By the time we conquered anything. For followers, I went for cathedrals as the follower belief. And then bonus belief went for prophecy, so another enhancer belief. I was trying to build Leaning Tower of Pisa, or wanting to go for that, and need an extra policy for it. And I also thought the plus to holy sites would be good as well, since we were planning to make them, and cheaper profits also. Yeah, unfortunately we didn't get Leaning Tower of Pisa anyway, so that was a bit annoying. But yeah, decent belief anyway. And then enhance this religion with churches, so another building and symbolism, which gives bonus to great people in that city. Did want to start making some great people, had some plans with having great people. And yeah, went for cathedrals and churches because the Aztecs actually had synagogues and mosques in their religion, which meant basically between Judaism, Confucian, and Eastern Orthodoxy, we could get like pretty much all of the good belief buildings in all of our cities just by converting through any new cities we got one by one with each of those religions. So that was pretty cool. Otherwise I probably would have gone for mosques or synagogues instead of churches, I think. And then eventually, so converted everything over to Eastern Orthodoxy, and once we'd conquered some stuff and got the buildings and converted that through as well, we eventually did get to the Reformation belief requirement and reformed with inspired work. So this was my kind of great person strategy, was to have this Eastern Orthodoxy religion which would be present in all of my cities eventually. So great person and landmarks +4 to faith and science, great works +2 to culture, and archaeologists you can buy with faith. So plan was to have this in all cities. You also get the bonus from symbolism as well, so holy sites will give like even more yields because they get the great person improvement bonus as well. Yeah, and then symbolism to make more great people, the ability to buy them earlier as well from Byzantium, and then idea was eventually to get glory of God in Judaism once we reconquered it, and just have that one city as Judaism, being able to buy any great person there with the bonuses to great person improvements in the other city. So that was kind of the plan. Yeah, the conquering we did manage to get done quite soon after we got Eastern Orthodoxy founded, so that we could get those bonus yields from hero worship. We actually had to end up attacking Persia instead of Aztecs because it just wasn't happening on the Aztecs, and found a nice little place we could Great General and get very close to Persia. Able to just tank with the Cataphracts, build a load of roads and forts and stuff with workers as well, and then shoot over with some trebuchets and eventually cannons in a bit. Persia, for whatever reason, was just an easier target. I guess they went artistry instead of fealty, which Aztecs had, and Aztecs probably had more production as well with all the woods and stuff. And tutelary gods as their pantheon belief. They just had a lot of units. So yeah, it was really good to start conquering. The bonus faith was super useful for getting all the religious stuff that we needed to do done. I think we conquered 2 or 3 of the Persian cities, and then there was a pretty good opportunity to attack the Aztecs with another great general, so I switched over to them. I think we upgraded through lancers as well. We were getting a lot of experience on units also through these wars, so started getting some ranged cannons and stuff, and blitz cataphracts. Well, they would either have blitz, they would either have drill 3 and blitz, or shock 3 and then march, and mobility as well, and basically all of them. Still took a while to get through. I think we had to do a war with Aztecs, and then another war with Persia again to conquer the rest of them. There was a bit of a choke point, which was why we stopped the first war. It was going to take ages to get their capital, but came back for it, and then had to do another war with Aztecs as well to clean up our kind of continent. So it did take a while, but obviously once we conquered stuff, we had a very good empire. We also took fealty ourselves as well, so that we could build the monasteries and build all the faith stuff cheaper also, and just works well with having a pretty wide empire. Unfortunately, by the time we were had our continent sorted, Assyria was a long way ahead. I mean, we're talking 15 techs ahead at some points in the game. It was at least 10 by the time we'd conquered these guys, and they were not slowing down at all. They were building all the wonders. They kind of had a free area where no one was really against them, and they went for statecraft as well, which mentioned at the start we had the city-state modifications on, so they were probably getting quite a bit more yields than they normally would from all the allies that they had. That was definitely powering them on as well. Arabia was pretty strong, but they had a lot of neighbours, and a lot of neighbours who didn't like them, so they were getting constantly warred, which was slowing them down a lot. But really needed to try and figure out a way to do something about Assyria. Once we got to roughly industrial era, we reconquered Jerusalem so that we could actually get Glory of God there and start purchasing any great person that we wanted. Went for syncretism as the enhancer belief, so that is the one that gives +1 faith, science and production in the Holy City for every 2 followers of other religions. And as I said, the plan was to have this be the only Jewish city and have all the other ones following other religions. So big syncretism bonus, and went veneration as well, since we were planning to spend our faith here, so that we could get the 10% culture and gold if we spent a good amount of faith here. So that was a pretty good thing. We could start buying great scientists, great writers and stuff to help us get to ideology and get through some of the crucial industrial modern era techs, like getting to combustion for land ships, and finding all the oil and stuff. I don't think we got any of the wonders because those guys were a long way ahead. But just good to have the factories and all that kind of stuff, and go towards ballistics as well for more upgrades there. So I think we were mostly buying great scientists. Had to do a bit of cleaning up of Sweden as well, because they'd kind of encroached on our land on the west, and yeah, started picking off some Assyrian city-states as well to weaken them, since even though the city-states were stronger, there's still not really much they can do once you've like picked off their units and stuff. It's just eventually you will get through the city by just attacking it. Went for imperialism as well, since we had a very large empire, +1 movement for naval units, and there's a couple of like combat bonuses as well as the yield from monopolies, which we had quite a few of since we'd conquered people's lands. And yeah, I mean, colonialism also gives science for barracks, armories and stuff, and forts as well, so build forts everywhere for bonus science and bonus gold when you conquer cities, and reduced upgrade cost of units. A lot of good stuff for trying to conquer the world in imperialism. Now, encountered another problem with the double religion strategy, or the way that we did it at least, which was that because our primary religion was Judaism, we only had one city following that religion. Number one, we weren't able to actually build the founder belief building, like once we'd reconquered it. And this building is the thing that gives you 1 vote in Congress for every 10 cities following your religion. So normally, when you have a normal religion, you'll try and spread it out and you'll get a couple of votes from having this building. And that allows you to have at least enough votes to hopefully suggest stuff in Congress, at least, even if you can't necessarily fully sway the outcome of it. Just being able to suggest stuff means there's a possibility it could get through. But we were never able to do that because we weren't getting any bonus votes. And obviously it was a huge map as well, so there was 12 civs, so quite hard to be in the top 3 so that you can propose stuff. There was some stuff that would have been very useful. Scholars in residence, obviously, to try and catch up with Assyria a bit. But also pretty much any of the projects we would have wanted, since we had like a big enough empire that we probably could have won them if they had gone through. But yeah, weren't really able to do any of that. Luckily, the other civs all kind of worked together to try and stop Assyria actually being able to like get good stuff for them through. And yeah, they even managed to pass travel ban as well, because Assyria and Arabia were both also doing pretty well on tourism. So yeah, we were just getting ready to attack Assyria, like getting all the units lined up on their border and stuff, when they actually decided to attack us, which was quite scary. Now, I was thinking about just trying to like, because we had some very highly upgraded land ships, just kind of land them in Assur, because it seemed like they actually didn't have that many land troops. Did decide against that, which I think was very wise, because though they didn't have a lot of land troops, they had a lot of bombers, and I think they even had logistics on the bombers, because Assyria gets a lot of bonus experience on their units, and they had orders as well. So yeah, I think bombers are seriously quite brutal to play against if you don't have anti-air, which we didn't at that time. Like, there's no real... the AIs can actually use them properly, and particularly if they have logistics, they will obviously just kill units like very, very quickly. So I went for a slightly roundabout route, while we couldn't really just commit fully to them, like picked off Leventa and Prague. Oh yeah, it was well annoying what they did actually, because they declared war like just before I was about to Great Diplomat one of their city-states as well. But yeah, we were able to just pick off their city-states and kind of helped us get towards them. And we were using great scientists also, so got to ballistics so that we could have anti-aircraft guns, and then also great scientists through to combined arms. Really wanted the tanks. But what I hadn't even really thought about that much was a pentagon, which we also unlocked there since we had Imperialism finished as well. And this has a few effects, but one of them is to give you 2 free jet fighters. So even though we had not actually unlocked flight, nor aluminium, which jet fighters actually require, we had 2 jet fighters who were very highly experienced as well, because the air units get plus 20 experience, plus we had orders and stuff. And there is quite a ridiculous promotion that fighters can get. So I think they started with Ace Pilot 1 or something, and then we got 3 upgrades. Or maybe they started with 2 and Air Supremacy or something. But basically we were able to get them straight into Ace Pilot 4. So with these they have like 100% intercept chance, as well as some combat strength and bonus range. But this gives +1 interception, as well as combat strength and range. So basically each of these guys was able to intercept 2 bombers per turn. And yeah, we had to move them over. They weren't able to intercept when we moved them. But the next turn, they basically just obliterated the entire Assyrian air force. Like, each of them was able to do 2 interceptions, and they both one-shotted. Like, every time they intercepted a bomber, they one-shotted it. So Assyria was like using all of their oil and stuff to build bombers instead of tanks, and then just getting them taken out of the sky. Seriously turned the tide of the war, because it was very difficult to move across and keep the land units covered, and the boats as well, definitely covered by anti-aircraft guns, because these guys only have like 3 range. They're not high combat strength, so you can't really just put them in somewhere and hope that they survive. And even if you fully upgrade them, they only have like 60% intercept chance, and even if they did intercept, they wouldn't kill the bombers. So these guys just completely turned the war for us, I feel like. Yeah, probably was quite OP, really. Like having 2 intercepts at 100% chance and a lot of bonuses as well to combat strength of air units, because I think we had at least Air Supremacy 1. I think they were even one-shotting without Air Supremacy 2 or something. And really high range as well, like 12 range, so they were able to cover the entire area of our army, basically. Pretty ridiculous. So yeah, once we managed to kind of sneak into Prague while we were trying to stay out the range of the bombers, but then we were able to move the jet fighters into Prague, and they just covered the entire army. Yeah, this allowed us to actually push towards their cities properly. Unfortunately, they did quite soon after this actually research missile cruisers, and we were still on ironclads, not even really close to having destroyers. So that's 90 combat strength versus 60. Made it very difficult to actually get across the sea, but we did have a lot of land units, and they actually didn't have that many. A lot of their land units were anti-aircraft guns for whatever reason, and like I said, I think they were using their oil to build bombers instead of their own tanks. So if we could use the land units, we were definitely going to be able to be strong, and started buying great writers to get into autocracy, so that we could get Lebensraum, basically. Yeah, we were able to take out their other city on the island with Prague, and then trying to push across the sea. I mean, since we were outmatched on the navy, I basically just tried to use the land units, and we kind of snuck around the boats towards Jerusalem as well. the city-state of Jerusalem, which was on the big continent with Assyria. Yeah. We could land the units on the islands in between the sea, and they actually didn't have many battleships as well, which was the other thing. They didn't have many ranged boats, and they didn't have many strong melee units. So this meant we could just put our units on the islands, so could land a lot of artillery on all the islands, and just clean out their units, land artillery there, and then bombard their city until we could eventually get onto their continent. And once we got there, we basically just used all of our great generals to just Lebensraum all the way up to Assur and beyond, actually. And yeah, since we went autocracy, some pretty nice policies. Martial Spirit, which gives plus 25% combat strength when attacking to all units for 50 turn to all melee units. Lightning Warfare, so plus 15% attack and 1 movement for armor units. And yeah, having like elite forces, Lebensraum. This meant we had a lot of bonuses on our tanks, and they were able to also like embark and get a long way in one go to get across. And then yeah, just really like, since they had Blitz, just like smashing into their cities really, with Drill 3 and Blitz, and killing off any units we came across. Like once we got onto their continent, the war actually went pretty quickly. Had a couple of issues. One of them was that war weariness kind of randomly ticked up massively, and then our supply cap ticked down massively, so we were well over supply for a while we were trying to finish off the war, which basically slowed our production of new stuff down a lot. I think I wasn't allowed to build new units as well while we were that far over supply. Can't remember if I was allowed to buy them. Actually, I forgot to say that when we conquered the Aztecs, we also got zealotry from them. So their holy city had zealotry as their enhancer, so just made sure we had a Confucian Inquisitor to keep that city Confucian, and then we could buy land units there if we wanted them, and planes too. Although I wanted to build the planes in Jerusalem really, since we had the massive production from syncretism and we built the Pentagon there, so bonus experience for planes. But yeah, had zealotry as well. I can't remember if we were able to buy units, but yeah, it was just very, very annoying. And they also built an atomic bomb. They should have had another one, because I'm pretty sure they built Manhattan Project first, but I never saw that one. I checked it and it's not bugged, so I don't know. Maybe they deleted it because they didn't have uranium or something, and they got scared that they had a bomb and no uranium. But yeah, that was weird. I never saw that nuke, but I did see the one that we saw them make. I had spies in like all of their cities, tried to do some of the sabotaging defenses things, but also were just sabotaging production in quite a few places as well, and were able to see what they were building. And yeah, they had a nuke, which was pretty scary. They never used it. I don't think there was any way that they could have used it to win the war by the time they had it, because I had already really landed my units there. I had a lot of tanks coming. I probably could have sent more if I really needed them, and we'd even kind of overwhelmed their boats a bit as well as we worked our way through. So yeah, that would have been annoying. I mean, only would have been annoying really if it had one-shotted my units, which I've seen nukes do before, but then when I usually nuke people it doesn't one-shot them, so I have no clue if that's what a nuke would do. But yeah, it was a bit scary for a while. But we conquered that city and got rid of it. I actually waited with conquering Assur for a bit because I had a spy in there doing a steel tech, and I guess because the security level was max or whatever, but it was a 12k science mission, so willing to wait a couple of turns. It was like 90% success as well. So we've got 12k bonus science there. Conquered loads of wonders off them. Yeah, they had been building most of the stuff. Brandenburg Gate, one of the more useful ones that we got, I guess. Bonus experience on all units and supply cap as well. And also conquered their holy city of Nineveh, which happened to also have syncretism in it. So Byzantium doesn't stop other people from having the same belief. So yeah, they had syncretism there as well, which meant we had 2 holy cities where once we'd converted all the stuff away from Zoroastrian, that city would also have a massive amount of production and science as well. So we were definitely in a very, very good spot once we'd conquered Assyria. In the meantime, I think we used some scientists and finally got to corporations, built the Food Corp. We'd locked all of our cities a while ago because I knew happiness was going to be a massive problem if I didn't. It still was a problem at some times, but yeah, once we had Food Corp, we're able to unlock all the cities because it basically gets rid of unhappiness problems. Super good on a wide empire when you're conquering. And we were also fighting America because they decided to attack us across the sea. God damn, fighting the monitors were really annoying. They're unique ironclads, they're stronger, and they have this hardened promotion that gives them 3 less damage when you attack them. Some of them I attacked with like 6 ironclads on the same turn and they didn't die. Just really fucking annoying to fight against. And like our cities would do like 0 damage to them and stuff, just giving them experience. Man, that was a frustrating one. Only really made progress on them once we finally did get to destroyers, and also once we actually researched flight and got some bombers as well, because they didn't have anti-air, so air versus no anti-air generally means you can kill stuff very quickly. It was great to deal with Assyria. We didn't actually finish them off because they had one annoying city and I wanted to get rid of the war weariness, so I wanted to peace out with them. I wanted to get on with other stuff as well. But yeah, kind of removed all possibility of them winning really, and they only had one city left, so we could have taken them out later on if we needed. But Arabia was actually still quite a few techs ahead. So kind of pushed straight on through Attila, who was a little bit across the sea, and in between us and Arabia they fell very, very quickly because they were actually a tech behind. Arabia, though, by the time we got to him, had 130 defense on some of his cities. Still, it was surprisingly easy to take him out, actually, with a couple of Laban's realms. And he didn't really have many rivers around his city. The capital was slightly awkwardly placed, but we actually had a lot of artillery as well. And one thing he really didn't have was anti-air. It's a little bit weird, like some civs just 90% of their units, it seems like, are anti-air guns once they reach the tech. Arabia just had like none of them. I mean, I guess they had a lot of their Hashemite raiders, unique light tank things, but even though they're strong, they're not as good as a tank. So we were able to get through them pretty quickly. Also got a Fountain of Youth, which apparently they had. Definitely very useful because it gave our tanks +5 healing, and a lot of them actually had March. So, yeah, at this point it seemed like we were in a pretty good position to win. My plan for winning was similar to what I did in the Germany game. So I didn't want to have to spend time conquering the whole world, so I thought we'll go for Cult of Personality, 50% tourism to civilizations fighting common enemy. Wasn't expecting to get that, but 50% of your highest war score counts as a tourism modifier with all civilizations. So just have at least one war with 100 war score, so that you get the 50% bonus with all civilizations. And I'm a musician as well. I think I actually took the free great person as a musician. and musicians give 100% tourism modifier to one civ and 50% to the others. So plan was, since Arabia was quite a long way ahead, like we needed to get a lot of tourism to reach their culture, to get influential with them, and so did Russia, and Arabia was kind of ahead, so I didn't really want to let them live. I used the musician in Russia and invaded Arabia. And then the plan was to build stadiums everywhere. So stadiums give 2,500 tourism when you build them. We also still had some zoos to build, which give 1,000 tourism when you build them. And with the plus 100% modifier, the idea was to basically cancel out, because we had a lot of negative modifiers from our empire size being much bigger than other people. You can go down to minus 90% from that, and also there was 35% from the travel ban, which they got through earlier on. Also sent trade routes out and stuff where I could. Assyria was still a long way ahead, but because they were our vassal, we got a lot of positive modifiers with them, so I felt like we'd have enough to get them, and we could conquer their last city anyway if not. But yeah, I felt like even though there was a lot of negative modifiers, with the bonus positive and the amount of tourism that we could get from building so many stadiums, we should easily be able to do the tourism victory. Unfortunately it was bugged, and the tourism modifiers weren't applying properly, or the positive ones weren't, so I actually had, in some cases or the game thought I had, like a more than minus 100% modifier, which meant that we were actually losing tourism with civs for every tourism that we put out. Rather an annoying one. By the time I found that out, I'd already built all the stadiums, didn't really want to go back, so just kept conquering stuff and took the futurism policy to try and get a bit of bonus tourism once the modifiers were correct, and we still had some stadiums to build. This did long the game out by quite a few hours, because just conquering stuff takes a while, even though we were some techs ahead in some cases, equal in some others, but just had like such good armies from all the highly upgraded tanks that we had. But in the end, we had conquered literally everyone's capital, apart from Russia. Russia seemed like they would take a little while to get through, because they had minefields everywhere which stopped the boat movement, but also they have the Ostrogs, their unique arsenal, which makes units move slower. And lots of rivers as well, man. Rivers are super annoying around cities when you're trying to attack them with blitz tanks. Definitely had, like, they slowed us down in quite a few places. But yeah, eventually did manage to get over the tourism amount, and because we had such a big empire and so many population, the amount of syncretism bonus we had in Jerusalem was pretty massive by the end, because we also had big cities as well thanks to Food Corp. So Jerusalem built a nuclear power station there as well for plus 50% production, and actually built the Citizen Earth Protocol in 2 turns with like no bonus instant yields or anything. Pretty crazy. 6,000 production in 2 turns. I think, yeah, we had a bit of overflow, and then it was producing like 3,000 production per turn in the end. So it was a very, very long game in the end, due to the amount of units that we had to move every turn, and the war with Assyria being quite complicated. I definitely thought we were going to lose, actually, when I was trying to get into Assyria, and not really seeing a way to get past the bombers without losing like multiple units every turn, which would have slowed us down. And then the nuke as well, that I thought they could have used at some point. Definitely a satisfying one to win though, and appreciate all the people that were there to support as we did it live on Twitch. Definitely helped me get through it. And on the double religion, these are my thoughts on it, having played it now. I think the authority strategy wasn't a good one. So the problem is with beliefs and authority is that there's really only one, or there's only like one belief for each type of belief that's actually useful for authority, which is like orders, hero worship, zealotry, and crusader spirit. Didn't get and crusader spirit's probably the most useful of them, and we didn't get reformation belief early enough to help us start conquering anyway. So kind of having the double religion doesn't really help in that sense. I mean, having bonus science helps you conquer more as well if you can get to good units earlier. But basically I just felt like faffing around trying to sort out Jerusalem, lose it, found a new religion, get all that stuff sorted. It basically did slow down our early game a bit, and I think with an authority game, if the earlier you can start conquering, start getting a big civilization, and then getting like you can get big great writers because you can conquer a lot of great works, and big great scientists as well because you just have a lot of science production from a lot of cities. I think generally that's a better way to play authority rather than doing all this complicated stuff to get set up before you actually start conquering. I mean, having said that, we didn't have a nice start because we had two really, really bad people to be next to, so it's not like conquering anyone was particularly easy early on as well. Ooh, a little thing I did learn in this game actually. Bit of a sidetrack, but realised what we should be doing with all of these conscript units that you get from the honour policy in authority when you reach a multiple of 10 in cities, which is make them into medics, because these units are supply free, so you want to keep them, you don't want to upgrade them because they lose it on upgrade, the conscript thing. So if you upgrade them, they'll start taking military supply, so you want to keep them the same unit that they originally are, which means they'll be you don't want to actually be using them in combat because they might be out-teched, but have them as medics, and then wherever you're fighting you'll have loads of medics nearby that you can use to heal up your units. You know, you can even put them on like even if they're land units, like you can embark them and put them underneath a boat that you want to heal that. You can use them to heal aeroplanes later on as well. And just, I think it's generally just a very good use of these units that normally I would just put into shock and maybe mobility, and they're just going to sit in a city anyway. Like, if there's going to be any use for them in the game, it's going to be as a medic, I think. But yeah, I think, so with authority, I think you just want to pick the best stuff you can as early as you can. And then you can mess about with double religion later on. Like, trying to let one of your neighbours conquer your city is not a good idea unless you have them completely like under control and they're basically like a puppet state that you're at war with. Like, because if you're giving them a bonus city, it's just going to make them more powerful and make it harder to conquer them. So use the city states to palm off your holy city that you don't want as well. Like, probably don't build walls and stuff there, put it near to a city state, and you might even need to gift them a cannon or something, because they often won't make siege weapons, especially without the city state mod thing that I was trying out. I still do think that tradition could work with this double religion thing, and I still would like to try it at some point. I guess for that though, we'd have to re-roll a couple of times until we actually got a tradition start, because I don't think it would have worked on this one. You do need, like I said, production is normally the thing that I want as tradition, but then that could be seen as like just re-rolling until we have a good start, basically. Though this was a good start, just not a good tradition one. Yeah, but the way I think that it could be done with tradition, so kind of similar to what we did, is with using Glory of God in one religion and Inspired Works in the other one. Now, the thing is with Glory of God, it has to be your primary, otherwise you won't be able to buy have the choice of any great people if it's not your primary. So I think one option is to have the first religion that you found be the one that you put Glory of God in, spread it to all your cities, have ceremonial burial, so you get a lot of faith from using great people. For the bonus, just take whatever's gonna make all of your cities better, so you could even take a bonus pantheon maybe, since this religion you'd keep in all your cities, or whatever follower or something would be good in all cities. And then your second religion you would have just in your capital, and this would be the one with Inspired Works. So put all of your great person improvements around the capital, have symbolism and syncretism as well, or potentially prophecy also. So yeah, you can buy all the great people, you can put all the improvements around the capital, you'll also have syncretism, so you'll have really high yields in your tradition capital. I think that could be good. Or the other way would be kind of the other way around, where you have the Inspired Works in all your other cities, and then the Glory of God just in your capital. But the thing with this one is that you'd want to not reconquer your original capital, so that Glory of God could stay as your primary. So you'd have to just be giving up that city, which is quite annoying. Potentially, if you could manufacture it somehow so that you could reconquer and give away your original holy city when you wanted it, you could switch between when you wanted to buy a great person and potentially when you wanted to have some bonus votes, because the problem with this is you'd have the same problem that I had in my game, where my primary religion wasn't the one that had all the people following it, so wasn't able to get bonus votes in Congress. So for that reason, I'd say the first one that I mentioned is a better way of doing it, even though it might not be quite as ideal, because you'll have Glory of God in all cities and Inspired Works in only one, whereas you only need Glory of God in one city for it to work. But this way you'd get bonus votes in Congress, it would be much simpler, and you just have like a really good capital basically. But yeah, I guess with all of this, I would just say that it's so hard to predict how a game is going to evolve that it's much easier to just kind of go for the best religion that you really want. Maybe put the city near a city-state so that you can make these decisions later on, but have a good religion. And then if you fancy, if you feel like having a second religion, getting some more buildings or some syncretism or something like that going in another city could work, then you can just give the city away later and do it like that once you're already in a good position. And you could do kind of similar to the tradition thing with progress, I would say. The same thing, like I said, just have a good religion and then maybe go to a different one, and you could use the second religion. You could use both religions to try and get like all the buildings built as well. That would be pretty good with progress. I wouldn't try and do like swapping around religions and stuff with other civs. You can only really found 2 with Byzantium. Maybe you could with India if you were super quick, but with other civs you can like conquer people's religion and stuff if you were to give away your holy city and make their religion your own, but it wouldn't work so well because you would lose all your faith every time you swap religion. So yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on it. I get my actual thought is it's probably not a good idea, but it is a bit of fun sometimes. But I don't think basing your game around it is as good an idea as just getting the best religion possible and playing with that. because, I mean, there aren't actually any things particularly broken that you can do with religion anymore, that I know of at least. Like, I can't think of any, even with the bonus belief strategies, that are like gonna make you particularly strong. Like, obviously syncretism is really good once you have a massive amount of population, but if you have a massive amount of population, you're super strong anyway, so it doesn't actually change the game that much. So yeah, maybe Byzantium generally just isn't quite as strong as I thought, just because it's not actually that possible to like break the game with any particular religion. Like, the authority religion is alright. Cataphracts are very good, but there's not really that many actual bonuses to help you conquer cities compared to some of the other better civs. Tradition is probably generally the most synergy that you have with Byzantium, where you also have the great person synergy and being able to choose any religion as tradition and get a bonus belief as well, is pretty damn good. But tradition is never as consistent as good old authority. So maybe if I redid my tier list, I would put Byzantium a little bit below some of the more consistent authority civs. So yeah, that's my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys thought. As for the future, so now we got this game done, we can do some new games. Plan is to play some custom civs. I'll be doing it on stream, I think, on Twitch as usual, but yeah, should be more excitement, less moving infinite units around, and at some point we'll try and do a Portugal game as well. I want to get a cool Terra map, which is one which has like a colonial area, so that we can play Portugal, and then there'll be a continent where no one's on that we can kind of fight with the other civs for, build the colonias and stuff. So yeah, we'll do a game of Portugal, and I think in the future, instead of just saying like, oh, this is going to be a series, like we'll start this and it'll be a series, we'll do it more like we'll just play more like early games, and then if the games are interesting, then we can continue them to the finish, and if not, we'll just start another game as a different civ or something, because obviously the early game is the best bit of the game. And as much as it was interesting to grind out the win on this game, I don't really want to just be grinding out authority wins like all the time, because it's not as fun. So yeah, that's the plan for the future, and I'm going to keep playing Europa Universalis as well, and we'll mix in a little bit of Rome Total War and Humankind at some point as well. So hopefully you guys will be looking forward to that. Yeah, that's everything I got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully see you soon.